The alien ships appeared without warning over every major city on Earth. They were massive, dwarfing even the largest human structures. Their hulls gleamed with an otherworldly sheen that hurt to look at directly. For 3 days they simply hovered there, silent and ominous while humanity held its collective breath. When they finally made contact, it was not what anyone expected. Ambassador Trell materialized in the United Government Assembly Hall in Geneva. He was tall, nearly 8 feet, with skin that shimmered between blue and purple. His forearms moved with precise grace as he addressed the gathered human leaders. His voice, translated by technology far beyond human understanding, carried unmistakable contempt. "We are the Dominion Coalition, representatives of 7 advanced civilizations that govern this sector of the galaxy. We have observed your species and determined you are ready for limited integration into galactic society." President Hayes, representing Earth's unified government, stepped forward. "We welcome peaceful contact. What does this integration involve?" Trell's facial features twisted into what might have been amusement. "You misunderstand your position. This is not a negotiation. You have achieved crude faster-than-light capability, which means we can no longer ignore your existence. However, your species remains fundamentally primitive. You still wage wars among yourselves. Your technology is laughably basic. Your weapons are kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. You have not even achieved true artificial intelligence or quantum consciousness." Director Amara Singh watched from the observation deck, her jaw clenched. She had spent 20 years in military intelligence, seeing humanity through its darkest conflicts and into eventual unity. Now this alien was dismissing everything they had achieved. Trell continued, "You will be classified as Category 5 primitives. You may maintain limited self-governance of your homeworld, but you are forbidden from colonizing beyond your solar system. You will provide resources as tribute to the Dominion. You will accept monitoring stations in orbit. You will submit all technological development for our approval. In return, we will not destroy you." The assembly hall erupted in outrage. Representatives shouted protests in a dozen languages. Security forces tensed, hands moving toward weapons they knew would be useless. Trell simply waited, his expression unchanging. When the noise finally died down, he spoke again. "You may deliberate for one of your days. We will return for your answer. Choose wisely. 3,000 species have joined the Dominion. 17 refused. They no longer exist." The ambassador vanished as suddenly as he had appeared. For 18 hours, Earth's leaders debated. Military advisors presented grim assessments. The Dominion ships possessed shields that could absorb nuclear detonations without damage. Their weapons could crack a planet's crust from orbit. Humanity's entire fleet of 37 interstellar vessels would be vaporized in minutes. Captain Daniel Ross sat in one such meeting, his weathered face impassive. He had commanded the ESS Horizon, humanity's first vessel to reach another star system. He had seen the beginnings of humanity's expansion into the cosmos. Now he was watching it end before it truly began. "We have no choice," General Park stated flatly. "Resistance means extinction. Submission means slavery," countered Senator Williams. "We would be giving up everything our species worked for." Amara Singh finally spoke, her voice cutting through the argument. "We accept their terms. For now." Eyes turned to her. "We are outmatched," she continued. "That is simple reality. But Category 5 primitives? That classification tells us something important. They don't see us as a threat. They see us as backward children. That means they won't watch us closely. That means they will underestimate us." Ross met her gaze and understood immediately. "You want to buy time?" "I want to survive," Amara replied. "Submission today does not mean submission forever." "They think our weapons are primitive. Fine, let them think that. Let them believe we are simple, predictable, inferior. While they look down on us, we learn everything we can about them." President Hayes nodded slowly. "A guerrilla strategy, applied to galactic politics, and exactly. We bow today. We study them. We grow stronger in ways they do not expect. And when the time comes, we show them what primitives can do when pushed too far." When Trell returned, Earth's answer was ready. President Hayes stood before the alien ambassador and spoke words that tasted like ash. "Earth accepts the terms of the Dominion Coalition. We will comply with all requirements." Trell's expression was satisfied. A wise decision. "You will find the Dominion to be fair masters, so long as you remember your place. Your first tribute shipment is due in 30 days. Monitoring stations will be active within the week. Technological development teams will report to our oversight committees. Any violation will be met with immediate consequences. The alien ships remained in Earth's skies for another day, a visible reminder of who held power. Then they departed, leaving only the monitoring stations behind, cold metallic eyes watching humanity's every move. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, Amara Singh assembled a small team. Scientists, engineers, military strategists, intelligence analysts, all volunteers, all sworn to absolute secrecy. They think we are primitive, she told them. They think our technology is simple. They think we fight by their rules. We are going to prove them catastrophically wrong. This project has one goal: prepare for the day we stop bowing. Daniel Ross was there, having resigned his commission to join the secret effort. What are we calling this? Amara smiled grimly. Project Prometheus. We are going to steal fire from the gods. Outside, humanity bent its knee to alien masters, but in the shadows a different future was taking shape. The Dominion thought they had conquered Earth. They had no idea what they had actually done. They had given humanity a reason to truly unite. They had given humanity an enemy worthy of its full potential. Most dangerous of all, they had given humanity time. The war had not started yet, but in that moment its outcome was already being decided. 5 years of submission had changed humanity in ways the Dominion never bothered to notice. The tribute ships departed Earth monthly, loaded with rare metals and processed materials. Dominion monitoring stations recorded every launch, every transmission, every new construction project. On the surface, humanity appeared to be exactly what the aliens expected. A conquered species learning its place in the galactic order. Daniel Ross guided his vessel through the approved trade route, his crew performing their duties with practiced efficiency. The ship was technically a cargo hauler, registered for resource transportation and limited exploration within permitted zones. The Dominion inspectors had certified it themselves, barely glancing at the specifications before stamping their approval. They never looked deep enough to find the hidden compartments filled with surveillance equipment. They never questioned why a cargo ship needed such powerful sensors. They never wondered why the crew rotation included so many former military personnel. Another Dominion patrol passing at Mark 7, reported the navigator, a woman named Beth Reeves who had once commanded ground forces during Earth's unification wars. She maintained her cover as a civilian pilot, but her eyes still carried that sharp tactical awareness. Ross acknowledged with a subtle nod. Every Dominion ship they encountered was catalogued. Movement patterns, response times, weapon signatures, shield frequencies, data that seemed meaningless individually, but formed a comprehensive picture when compiled with information from dozens of other human vessels doing the same thing. Back on Earth, that data flowed into Project Prometheus. The facility had grown far beyond its original bunker. Spread across multiple sites disguised as mining operations and research centers studying approved civilian technologies, Prometheus had become humanity's secret weapon forge. Amara Singh ran the operation with absolute dedication, sleeping only when exhaustion forced her to. The Dominion uses energy-based weapons exclusively, explained Leo Grant, a young engineer who had joined Prometheus 2 years earlier. He stood before a holographic display showing shield analysis. They have adapted their defenses to counter similar technology from other species. But look at this. The display shifted, showing test results. Their shields are optimized for energy dispersal. They can absorb plasma bursts, particle beams, electromagnetic pulses. But kinetic projectiles, old-fashioned metal moving at high velocity, their shields barely register them as threats. Amara leaned forward, interested. They called our weapons primitive. Exactly. They fought wars with species that abandoned kinetic weapons thousands of years ago. Their military doctrine has no effective counter because they never needed one. To them, ballistic weapons are like cavalry charges or catapults, obsolete historical curiosities. But we never stopped developing them, Amara said, understanding dawning. We just made them faster, smarter, more devastating. Leo grinned. Nuclear-tipped missiles with adaptive guidance. Magnetically accelerated slugs that hit with the force of meteors. Swarm drones that can't be stopped by energy shields. We have an entire arsenal they literally cannot defend against because they think these weapons do not work anymore. Another researcher, Dr. Sarah Kim, added her analysis. There is more. Dominion tactics are highly formalized. They fight like chess players. following established patterns and rules of engagement. Their military academies teach standardized responses to standardized threats. They expect their opponents to behave rationally, to minimize losses, to surrender when the cost becomes too high. They have never fought humans, Beth said quietly. She had joined Prometheus after Ross recruited her, bringing extensive experience in asymmetric warfare. They have never faced an enemy that will sacrifice everything to win, that will use tactics they consider barbaric, that will turn their own strengths against them. Amara pulled up casualty reports from the latest Dominion humiliation of a human vessel. 12 crew members dead because they did not move out of a patrol ship's path fast enough. The Dominion commander called it a lesson in obedience. Earth's government filed a formal protest that was dismissed without consideration. "How long until we are ready?" she asked. "The weapons exist," Leo replied. "We have prototypes that can kill Dominion ships, but we need delivery systems, ships that can survive long enough to use them, training for crews willing to employ tactics that will shock the entire galaxy. And we need a spark," Beth added, "something that pushes Earth from secret resistance to open war. Right now, the population accepts subjugation because it means survival. They need to see that submission has a cost too terrible to accept." Ross had been silent, but now he spoke. "It will come. The Dominion grows more arrogant every year. They push harder, demand more. Eventually, they will push too far, and when they do, we need to be ready to hit them with everything we have built." 3 months later, the spark came. A human colony on the edge of permitted space. A small outpost called Tanner Station was home to 300 miners and their families. They worked a rich deposit of rare minerals, their operations approved by Dominion overseers. The settlement had existed for 2 years without incident. Then the boundary changed. A Dominion official decided the system actually fell within a restricted zone. No warning was given. No time for evacuation was permitted. The Dominion enforcement fleet simply arrived and opened fire. Ross and his crew were 2 systems away when they received the distress signal. By the time they arrived, Tanner Station was gone. 300 people vaporized because of a bureaucratic decision made by beings who saw humans as little more than insects. Beth Reeves stood beside Ross, watching the debris field where families had once lived. Her own cousin had been stationed there with his wife and 2 children. Tears ran down her face, but her voice was steel. "This cannot stand." "It will not," Ross replied. His hands gripped the console so hard the metal groaned. "Get me a secure line to Amara, now." The transmission was brief. Ross reported what he had witnessed. Amara listened in silence. "I am bringing this to the government," she said finally. "Earth will protest. The Dominion will ignore us again. Public outrage will reach critical mass. And then, Daniel, I am going to need you ready to fight." "I am ready now." "Not yet. I am building you something special. A real warship disguised as a civilian vessel. When the time comes when we finally stop bowing, you will command it. You will show the Dominion what humans really are." The news of Tanner Station spread across Earth within hours. Protests erupted in every major city. The carefully maintained calm of 5 years shattered. People demanded action, consequences, justice. Earth's government protested to the Dominion. The response was predictable. The colony violated territorial boundaries. Enforcement was justified. Earth should control its citizens better. But this time, behind closed doors, President Hayes made a different decision. "How soon can Prometheus go operational?" Amara did not hesitate. 6 months for full readiness. But we can accelerate if needed. Do it. We tried peace. We tried submission. They repay us with massacre. The people are ready for war, even if it costs everything. The question is, can we actually win? Unknown, Amara answered honestly. We have advantages they do not know about. We have weapons they cannot counter. We have the will to endure losses that would break their civilizations. But they have numbers, experience, resources beyond our imagination. Hayes nodded slowly. Then we make sure our first strike counts. We show them that humans are not prey. We make them regret ever finding Earth. In orbit, Dominion monitoring stations continued their observations, noting increased industrial activity and elevated communication traffic. Their automated systems flagged it as minor civil unrest, nothing requiring attention. The Category 5 primitives were simply upset, as lesser species often were. They would calm down eventually. They always did. The Dominion had no idea that humanity was preparing to teach them a lesson 7,000 years of galactic dominance had never forced them to learn. Underestimating your enemy is the first step to losing everything. The emergency broadcast reached Daniel Ross while his ship was conducting routine sensor calibrations near the outer colonies. His blood turned to ice as he listened to the fragmentary transmissions from Outpost Tanner. Multiple hostile contacts inbound. Dominion warships. They are not responding to hails, evacuating civilians to underground shelters. This is not a drill. They are powering weapons. Oh God, they are actually going to... Static replaced the voice. Then came the screaming. Ross slammed his fist on the communications console. Get us there. Maximum acceleration. Sir, we are 3 hours away at best speed, his navigator protested. And we are unarmed. Regulations prohibit I do not care about regulations. Those are our people. But 3 hours might as well have been 3 years. By the time Ross's vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Tanner system, it was over. The colony was simply gone. Where 300 people had lived and worked, there was only superheated rock and radioactive debris. The Dominion warships were already departing, their formation precise and unhurried. They had completed their mission and saw no reason to acknowledge the human cargo ship that had just arrived. Beth Reeves moved through the ship's corridors like a ghost. Her tactical mind automatically cataloged what she was seeing: orbital bombardment pattern, sustained plasma discharge, complete surface sterilization. Professional, efficient, thorough. The Dominion had not just destroyed the colony, they had erased it. My sister was down there, she said quietly. Her husband. Their 2 children, ages 6 and 9. Ross had no words. He had seen death before, had ordered strikes that killed enemy combatants during Earth's wars. But this was different. This was murder on an industrial scale, and the murderers were already leaving, treating it as routine enforcement action. Sir, incoming transmission from the Dominion flagship, reported the communications officer. A face appeared on the screen. The alien commander looked bored. Human vessel, you are in violation of approach protocols. This system is now restricted territory. You will reverse course immediately or be classified as hostile. You just killed 300 civilians, Ross said, his voice shaking with barely controlled rage. There were children down there. This colony violated established boundaries. Enforcement action was required. The Dominion does not tolerate territorial infractions. Your government will be billed for cleanup costs and fined for unauthorized settlement. Consider this lesson learned. Comply with our directives or suffer consequences. The transmission ended. Ross stared at the blank screen. Around him, his crew sat in stunned silence. They had all known someone on Tanner. They had all just watched their people be exterminated and then be told it was their own fault. Take us back to Earth, Ross said finally, and get me a secure channel to Amara Singh. It is time. The journey back took 2 days. During that time, news of the Tanner massacre spread across human space. The Dominion's official statement was broadcast on all channels. Unauthorized colony in restricted space. Enforcement action justified. Earth government reminded of its obligations under the Submission Treaty. The response was volcanic. Protests erupted on every human world. Earth's orbital stations saw riots as workers refused to process Dominion tribute shipments. 3 monitoring stations were attacked by mobs before security forces could intervene. The carefully maintained peace of 6 years disintegrated in hours. President Hayes watched the chaos from her office in Geneva. Director Amara Singh sat across from her, along with military commanders and Project Prometheus leadership. The people want war, Hayes said simply. They are demanding we fight back. But can we actually survive it? Amara activated a holographic display. Project Prometheus has been developing weapons and tactics in secret for 6 years. We have prototypes that can defeat Dominion shields. We have strategies they will not anticipate. Most importantly, we have something they lack: the willingness to accept any cost to win. General Park leaned forward. What are you proposing? Total war, Amara replied. Not a protest. Not a limited engagement. Complete commitment to defeating the Dominion no matter what it takes. They think we are primitive? We show them exactly how dangerous primitives can be when you push them too far. Casualties? Hayes asked quietly. Catastrophic, Amara admitted. The Dominion has thousands of ships. They control hundreds of systems. They have allies who will support them. We are one planet with limited resources. Even with our advantages, the cost will be measured in millions of lives. But we can win? Unknown. But I know we cannot accept this. Amara gestured to the screens showing footage from Tanner. If we bow to this, they will do it again. And again. Until humanity exists only at their pleasure, living in constant fear of extermination for any perceived slight. That is not survival. That is prolonged death. Hayes closed her eyes. 6 years ago, she had accepted submission to save Earth from destruction. Now she was being asked to risk everything on a war they might not win. But Amara was right. This was not living. This was waiting to die. "Show me what you have built," the president said. Amara led them to a hidden shipyard orbiting on the far side of Earth's moon. There, concealed from Dominion sensors, floated a vessel unlike anything humanity had created before. "We call her the Defiant," Amara said, "built from civilian ship components to avoid detection. But every system has been optimized for combat. She carries nuclear-tipped missiles, magnetic accelerator cannons, drone swarms, cyber warfare packages, and electronic countermeasures. Her engines can push her 30% faster than any Dominion equivalent. Her crew has trained in tactics that will violate every rule of civilized warfare the Dominion expects." Ross stood before his new command, feeling something he had not experienced in years: hope. "Who commands her?" Hayes asked. "Daniel Ross," Amara replied. "He has the experience, the tactical mind, and most importantly, the absolute determination to make the Dominion regret ever finding Earth." "When can you be ready?" Hayes asked Ross directly. "I am ready now, Madam President. My crew has been preparing for this moment since Tanner. We know the cost. We accept it. Just give the word." Hayes looked at the faces around her. Grim, determined, afraid, but unwilling to back down. This was humanity at its most dangerous. Cornered, angry, and armed with nothing left to lose. "The Dominion is demanding we surrender this entire sector," she said. "They want access to all our databases, complete disarmament, occupation forces on Earth itself. They are sending an enforcement fleet to ensure compliance. It arrives in 4 days." "Then we have 4 days to prepare," Amara said. "No," Hayes replied. "We have 4 days to finish preparing. We started 6 years ago. When that fleet arrives, we show them what happens when you mistake patience for weakness. We show them what humanity really is." She stood, her decision made. "Activate all Prometheus assets. Bring the Defiant and every weapon we have built online. Evacuate civilian centers and prepare planetary defenses. And send a message to every human in this system. The time for submission is over. We go to war." Around Earth, hidden facilities came to life. Weapons that had existed only in secret were moved into position. Ships that appeared civilian revealed their true nature. And throughout it all, Daniel Ross prepared his crew for the battle that would determine humanity's future. "They think we are primitives," he told them in the briefing room. "They think we fight by their rules. They think we will surrender when we see their power. They are wrong on every count. We are going to hit them with tactics they have never faced, weapons they cannot counter, and a level of determination that will terrify them. We are going to teach the Dominion that underestimating humans is a fatal mistake." Beth Reeves stood among the crew, her grief transformed into cold purpose. "For Tanner," she said quietly. "For Tanner," the crew echoed. "For Earth. For humanity." The Dominion enforcement fleet was coming, confident in their superiority and humanity's inevitable surrender. They had no idea they were sailing into history's greatest upset. The Dominion enforcement fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, with the confidence of those who had never known defeat. 47 warships, each one capable of destroying a city with a single salvo, arranged themselves in perfect formation. At their center was the command dreadnought, a vessel 3 kilometers long that had subjugated 17 species over its 2-century service life. Admiral Kren stood on the bridge, his forearms crossed in a gesture of satisfaction. Earth hung in the distance, a blue jewel that would soon learn absolute obedience. "Open channels to the human government," he commanded. "Inform them they have 1 hour to surrender complete control of their military, databases, and orbital infrastructure. After that, we begin pacification operations." The message was sent. The Dominion expected the usual response: panic, desperate negotiations, eventual capitulation. Instead, they received something entirely different. President Hayes herself appeared on the communication screen. Behind her stood military officers in uniform, not civilians in submission. "Admiral Kren," she said calmly, "Earth's answer is no." Kren's facial features shifted in what might have been amusement. You do not seem to understand your position. We have 47 warships. You have nothing that can threaten us. Surrender or watch your cities burn. We understand perfectly, Hayes replied. You have 47 warships that have fought only species who play by your rules. We are about to teach you a different kind of warfare. The primitives send their regards. The transmission ended. Kren stared at the blank screen, confusion replacing amusement. What did she mean by alarms shrieked across the bridge? Sensors detected hundreds of small contacts emerging from Earth's moon, asteroid belt, and orbital platforms. Not the large warships the Dominion expected, but swarms of smaller craft moving at speeds that should have been impossible. Missiles, the tactical officer shouted. Thousands of them! Nuclear warheads with... He paused, checking his displays in disbelief. With kinetic acceleration? That technology should not work together. Our shields will... The first wave hit. Dominion shields optimized for energy weapon dispersal barely registered the physical projectiles. Nuclear warheads detonated inside the shield perimeter, and the electromagnetic pulse from each blast was amplified by magnetic accelerators. 3 Dominion ships simply ceased to exist, vaporized before they could react. Impossible, Kren roared. Return fire. Destroy those platforms. But the platforms were already gone. Their missiles launched from disposable tubes that had self-destructed immediately after firing. The Dominion weapons found only empty space and debris. The second wave arrived from a different angle. This time it was not missiles, but clouds of small drones, each one carrying shaped explosive charges. They moved erratically, using chemical thrusters that made their trajectories unpredictable. The Dominion targeting systems, designed for fighting large ships in organized formations, struggled to track thousands of individual targets moving independently. The drones swarmed 4 more ships, attaching themselves to hulls and detonating simultaneously. Armor plating buckled. Atmosphere vented. 2 ships went dark, their power systems overwhelmed. And then the Defiant entered the battle. Daniel Ross brought his ship in fast and low, using Earth's gravity well for acceleration in ways Dominion doctrine considered reckless. His crew operated with practiced precision, years of secret training evident in every action. Target the command ship, Ross ordered. Full missile spread followed by magnetic cannon barrage. Beth, prepare boarding teams. Sir, boarding teams? His tactical officer questioned. The Dominion vessels are still combat capable. Exactly. They will not expect it. Hit them, the Defiant's weapon spoke. Unlike the Dominion's elegant energy beams, these were crude kinetic weapons that moved faster than sound. Magnetic accelerators launched tungsten slugs the size of telephone poles at velocities that turned them into plasma on impact. They punched through shields like they were not there, tearing into the command ship's hull. Ross was not finished. Ramming speed. Prepare for impact, sir. Multiple officers protested simultaneously. You heard me. These aliens think we value our lives more than victory. Show them otherwise. The Defiant accelerated directly at the command ship. At the last moment, Ross triggered his maneuvering thrusters, converting the ram into a high-speed scrape along the Dominion vessel's flank. Magnetic clamps deployed, locking the ships together. Cutting torches burned through weakened armor. Beth Reeves led her team through the breach. The Dominion crew, trained for ship-to-ship combat at safe distances, had no experience with close-quarters fighting. Human soldiers wearing powered armor and carrying weapons designed for urban warfare move through the corridors like vengeance incarnate. They are inside the ship. Kren could barely process what was happening. How did they board us? This is barbaric. This violates all conventions of civilized warfare. His tactical officer had more immediate concerns. Admiral, we are detecting massive power buildup in the human vessel. I think they are going to... The Defiant's reactor went critical. Ross and the boarding teams had already evacuated. Magnetic launchers firing their escape pods clear at high velocity. The explosion was channeled directly into the command ship's engineering section. Admiral Kren had one moment to realize he had underestimated humanity before the blast consumed him. The command ship broke apart. Its destruction broadcast across all Dominion frequencies. The remaining Dominion fleet, suddenly leaderless and facing tactics they had no training to counter, attempted to reorganize. But humanity had spent 6 years studying their enemy. Every standard Dominion response had been anticipated. When they tried to form defensive formations, Human ships attacked from unexpected angles, using gravity assist and reckless acceleration that no sane commander would risk. When they attempted long-range bombardment, they found their targeting systems jammed by cyber warfare programs that turned their own computers against them. When they closed for decisive engagement, they encountered minefields of dormant drones that activated only when the enemy was committed. The battle raged for 6 hours. 30 Dominion ships were destroyed or crippled. The remainder, damaged and demoralized, retreated to the edge of the system to await reinforcements. But Earth had paid a price. Orbital platforms were destroyed. 2 cities had been hit by stray fire with tens of thousands dead. The Defiant was gone, though Ross and most of his crew had survived. A quarter of humanity's military assets had been expended in a single engagement. President Hayes surveyed the damage from her command center. Amara Singh stood beside her, exhausted but grimly satisfied. "They will send more ships," Hayes said. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. Let them come," Amara replied. "We just proved they can be beaten. Every species they have subjugated will have seen what happened here. The Dominion's aura of invincibility is broken." Ross entered the room, his uniform scorched and torn. "The survivors are already broadcasting warnings. They are calling us insane. They say we fight without honor, without regard for our own lives, that we use forbidden tactics and primitive weapons." "Good," Hayes said. "Let them be afraid. Let them question whether conquering us is worth the cost. We have shown them that subjugating humanity means total war, and we will drag them down with us if necessary." She activated a communication channel to all human settlements. Her image appeared on every screen, in every home, on every ship. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies," she began. "Today we fought the Dominion and survived. They came to enslave us completely and we sent them running. But this is only the beginning. They will return with more ships, more weapons, more determination to break us. The war we just started will cost millions of lives. It may cost us everything." She paused, letting that sink in. "But we will fight. Because submission is not peace. It is slow death. We will fight because our children deserve better than to live as slaves. We will fight because we are human, and humans do not bow to tyrants no matter how powerful they seem." Across human space, the response was unanimous. Not cheers or celebration, but grim acceptance and fierce determination. Humanity had chosen its path, and there would be no turning back. In the wreckage of the battle, something else happened that the Dominion did not anticipate. Human salvage teams recovered Dominion technology, damaged ships, intact weapon systems. Every piece of wreckage was studied, reverse-engineered, adapted. The primitives were learning, and they learned fast. Beth Reeves stood among the debris of the command ship, recovering data cores and technology samples. She thought of her sister, her nieces and nephew, all the people murdered at Tanner. This was for them. Every Dominion ship destroyed. Every alien commander who learned to fear human determination. Every victory that brought them closer to freedom. "For Tanner," she whispered, loading another data core into her collection bag. "We are just getting started." Far across the galaxy, the Dominion Council received the battle reports with shock and fury. For the first time in 7,000 years, a Category 5 species had not only resisted but had inflicted devastating losses on a full enforcement fleet. The debate was brief. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would be crushed completely no matter the cost. They would deploy overwhelming force and wipe the primitives from existence. They did not understand that they had already made their fatal mistake. They had given humanity something to fight for, a reason to unleash the full terrible potential of a species that had spent its entire history perfecting the art of war. The Dominion thought they were sending an army to pacify a rebellion. They were actually marching into a meat grinder operated by the most dangerous predators the galaxy had ever seen. And Earth was ready. 3 months after the Battle of Earth, the war had spread across 12 star systems. The Dominion sent fleets to crush the human rebellion. They found instead an enemy that refused to fight by any rules they understood. Daniel Ross commanded what remained of humanity's rapid response fleet, a collection of ships that barely deserved the name. Retrofitted cargo haulers, mining vessels equipped with weapons, even a luxury transport converted into a missile platform. Nothing matched, nothing looked military, and that was exactly the point. "Dominion patrol detected," reported the sensor operator aboard Ross's new flagship, the Persistence. 4 heavy cruisers escorting a supply convoy. Ross studied the tactical display. By conventional military analysis, those 4 cruisers could destroy his entire fleet. The Dominion knew this. They expected humans to avoid engagement, to hide in the asteroid fields and run when confronted with superior force. Plot an intercept course, Ross ordered. Signal all ships to prepare for assault pattern Delta. His crew no longer questioned orders that seemed suicidal. They had learned that Ross understood something the Dominion did not. Wars were not won by preserving ships. They were won by breaking the enemy's will to fight. The human fleet emerged from behind a gas giant's moon, accelerating hard directly at the Dominion convoy. Surprised but confident, the Dominion cruisers moved to intercept, their energy weapons charging. They never got the chance to fire. The human ships split formation at the last moment, revealing that half of them were unmanned drones loaded with nuclear warheads. The drones dove straight at the Dominion vessels, ignoring all defensive fire, accepting destruction if it meant closing the distance. 3 drones were vaporized. 2 more were damaged. The final one made it through, detonating against a cruiser's shield generator. The electromagnetic pulse overloaded the system, dropping the shields for critical seconds. Ross's ship fired everything it had through that window. Magnetic cannon slugs tore into the unprotected hull. The cruiser broke apart, atmosphere and debris fountaining into space. "They are adapting," the tactical officer shouted. Dominion ships changing formation to cover each other's shield generators. "Then we change too," Ross replied. "Beth, your team ready?" "Always," came the response from the Marine commander. The Persistence closed with another cruiser, using the wreckage of the first as cover. Instead of firing weapons, it launched boarding pods, small, heavily armored capsules that locked onto the Dominion hull and burned through with thermal lances. Beth Reeves led her Marines into hell. The Dominion crew, trained for ship combat, had no answer for soldiers fighting in zero gravity with magnetic boots and close-range weapons. Humans swarmed through the corridors, targeting critical systems with shaped charges and thermite grenades. "Engineering secured," Beth reported, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. "Planting demolition charges. 30 seconds to evacuation." The Marines withdrew as quickly as they had arrived, magnetic launchers firing their pods clear. The cruiser's reactor went critical, taking another Dominion ship with it in the explosion. The remaining 2 cruisers fled, broadcasting emergency warnings about human boarding tactics and suicide attacks. The supply convoy was captured intact, its cargo of weapons and technology now in human hands. Ross watched the retreating ships and smiled grimly. "Let them run. Let them spread fear. Every ship that flees is a ship that will not fight as hard next time." This pattern repeated across the war zone. Humans did not fight fair. They used ambush tactics, hit-and-run strikes, and psychological warfare. They broadcast intercepted Dominion communications showing alien commanders expressing fear. They attacked supply lines, forcing the Dominion to divert resources to defense. Most terrifyingly, they demonstrated complete willingness to accept catastrophic losses if it meant killing the enemy. Dominion Admiral later described fighting humans as battling insane predators who value enemy deaths more than their own survival. Meanwhile, on Earth and her remaining colonies, Omara Singh coordinated a different kind of warfare. Project Prometheus had evolved from a secret weapons program into a comprehensive resistance network. "We have established contact with 17 species, subjugated by the Dominion," she reported to President Hayes. "They watched our broadcasts from the Battle of Earth. They see that the Dominion can bleed. They want to fight. Can we support them?" Hayes asked. "We can provide weapons, tactics, training. The Dominion's military is structured to fight other conventional forces. They have no counter for guerrilla warfare, no experience with insurgencies. If we can arm these species and teach them our methods, the Dominion will face rebellions across their entire territory." Hayes considered the implications. "We would be exporting human warfare to the galaxy. We would be offering freedom to species who have lived under oppression for centuries. The Dominion calls our tactics barbaric? Fine. We teach every subject species to be barbaric until the Dominion breaks." The strategy was approved. Human advisors, mostly former special forces and intelligence operatives, were dispatched to a dozen worlds. They taught alien resistance fighters how to build improvised explosives, how to target infrastructure instead of confronting military superiority directly, how to use the enemy's own systems against them. The results were spectacular. On one world, Resistance fighters used human-designed cyber weapons to crash the orbital defense network, allowing a surprise attack on Dominion garrisons. On another, insurgents employed tactics learned from Earth's own guerrilla wars, making occupation so costly that the Dominion withdrew completely. Species that had accepted subjugation for generations suddenly remembered they could fight back. The Dominion Council watched their empire fracture with growing panic. Resources meant for crushing Earth were diverted to putting down rebellions. Ships that should have been reinforcing the front lines were instead trying to maintain control of territories they had held for centuries. The humans are a virus, one council member declared. They infect everyone they contact with their madness. They must be eliminated completely before they destroy galactic civilization. But eliminating humanity proved easier said than done. 6 months into the war, a major engagement occurred at the Threshold Nebula, a region of unstable gas and electromagnetic interference. A Dominion fleet of 30 ships pursued a human force into the nebula, confident in their numerical superiority. Ross had chosen the battlefield carefully. The nebula's interference degraded Dominion sensors and shields. Their energy weapons lost effectiveness in the charged environment. Their rigid formations became liabilities in the chaotic space. Humans, however, thrived in chaos. Ships emerged from gas clouds at point-blank range, firing kinetic weapons that suffered no degradation. Mines planted days earlier activated when Dominion vessels passed, creating chain reactions in the unstable gases. Human captains, willing to risk their ships in ways no Dominion commander would consider, used the nebula's currents for unpredictable maneuvers. The battle lasted 4 hours and ended with 18 Dominion ships destroyed or crippled. The human fleet, though battered, had proven again that technological superiority meant nothing against enemies willing to exploit every advantage, take every risk, and pay any price for victory. Back on Earth, Leo Grant led teams analyzing captured Dominion technology. Every battle brought new equipment to study, new systems to reverse engineer, new weaknesses to exploit. Their quantum communications network, he explained to Amara. We cracked it. We can now intercept their strategic communications, potentially even inject false information. They are coordinating fleets across dozens of systems. If we can disrupt that coordination, do it, Amara ordered. Make them paranoid. Make them question every order. Information warfare is another front where we excel. The cyber warfare campaign began immediately. False orders caused Dominion fleets to arrive at wrong locations. Intercepted intelligence gave humans advance warning of attacks. Manipulated data made the Dominion believe human forces were larger and more widespread than reality. The Dominion military, trained for straightforward combat, had no effective response to enemies who attacked communications, spread propaganda, turned their own technology against them, and fought battles in dimensions beyond physical space. 1 year into the war, the strategic situation had transformed completely. The Dominion still possessed overwhelming numerical and technological superiority, but they were fighting on 100 fronts simultaneously, against enemies who used tactics they could not counter, accepted losses they could not comprehend, and displayed determination they could not break. Beth Reeves, now a colonel and legend among resistance forces galaxy-wide, stood on the bridge of a captured Dominion ship that had been retrofitted with human weapons. She looked at the tactical display showing Dominion retreats across multiple systems. They are learning fear, she said quietly. They are learning that enslaving humans means endless war. They are learning that we will never stop, never surrender, never accept subjugation, and that knowledge is spreading to every species they have conquered. Ross joined her, his face showing the wear of constant battle. Amara's latest intelligence suggests 3 Dominion Council members are advocating for peace negotiations. They want to cut their losses and withdraw from human space. Will it work? Unknown. The Dominion has never negotiated with a Category 5 species before. Their pride may not allow it, but we have proven we cannot be easily conquered. That changes the calculation. Outside, the galaxy burned with humanity's rage. The species that had been dismissed as primitives had become the nightmare that kept Dominion commanders awake. The weapons that had been mocked as obsolete were now feared across 1,000 worlds. The tactics that violated civilized warfare had proven devastatingly effective. Earth had started the war outmatched and outgunned. But Earth had something the Dominion lacked, the absolute refusal to lose no matter the cost. And in war, sometimes will mattered more than weapons. 18 months after the war began, Ambassador Trell returned to Earth. The arrogant diplomat who had once classified humanity as primitive now stood before President Hayes with his forearms held in a gesture of submission. Dominion Council wishes to discuss terms, he said, his voice lacking its former condescension. Behind him stood no military escort, no show of force, just a single shuttle under flag of truce. Hayes let him wait while she reviewed casualty reports. 4 million humans dead, 12 colonies destroyed, Earth's orbital infrastructure reduced to a quarter of its pre-war capacity. The cost had been exactly as catastrophic as predicted, but the Dominion had lost more. Terms, Hayes repeated finally. The Dominion wishes to discuss terms. Not demand surrender, not enforce compliance. Discuss terms as equals negotiate. Trell's facial features showed something humans had never seen from him before. Shame. Events have demonstrated that our initial assessment of your species was flawed. You have proven yourselves formidable opponents. The Dominion seeks an end to hostilities. Formidable opponents. Amara Singh spoke from her position beside Hayes. Interesting phrasing. Not primitives. Not Category 5 species. Opponents. The classification system has been suspended pending review, Trell admitted. Your tactics, weapons, and strategic capabilities have forced us to reconsider many assumptions about technological development and military effectiveness. Daniel Ross entered the room, wearing the uniform of humanity's newly formed defense fleet. Trell recognized him immediately as the commander, who had destroyed the enforcement fleet's flagship at the war's beginning. The alien's posture became even more submissive. You want peace, Ross said flatly. But what guarantees do we have that you will not simply rearm and attack again once we lower our guard? The Dominion has no appetite for continued conflict with humanity, Trell replied. Our military has suffered losses unprecedented in 7,000 years. 3 core systems have fallen to human-led coalitions. 17 subjugated species have rebelled using your tactics and weapons. Our economy is strained maintaining security across territories we once controlled effortlessly. Continuation of this war would be strategically and economically catastrophic. Good, Hayes said coldly. You are learning the same lesson we had to learn 6 years ago. Survival sometimes requires accepting terms you do not like. She activated a holographic display showing humanity's demands. Trell's expression shifted through several emotions as he read, complete withdrawal from all human-claimed systems. Recognition of Earth as an equal sovereign power with full rights. Reparations for destroyed colonies and infrastructure. Establishment of a new galactic council with representation from all species, not just Dominion members. And you want Dominion military academies to accept human instructors? We want to ensure no species ever again suffers what you put us through, Amara explained. That means teaching the galaxy new ways to fight, new ways to resist oppression. If the Dominion and other powers know that subjugating a species means facing human-trained resistance movements, they will think twice before attempting conquest. Trell looked at the demands for a long moment. The Council will never accept this. You are asking us to dismantle the entire structure of galactic governance. Then the war continues, Ross said simply. We will keep bleeding your fleets, arming rebellions, and proving that the old order is dead. Eventually, you will either accept change or be destroyed by species who have learned from our example. We cannot defeat you militarily, Trell admitted, the words clearly painful. Your losses would be greater, but you have demonstrated that casualties do not deter you. You will fight until either we surrender or you are extinct, and our analysis suggests you would become extinct before surrendering. Correct, Hayes confirmed. So let us skip the additional years of war and arrive at the inevitable conclusion. The galaxy changes today or it drowns in blood tomorrow. Choose. The negotiations took 3 weeks. The Dominion Council resisted every point, trying to salvage what they could of their former dominance. But humanity held firm, backed by the growing coalition of liberated species who saw Earth as their champion. Finally, the treaty was signed. The Dominion withdrew from human space completely, recognizing Earth's sovereignty over 23 star systems. Reparations were established to be paid over 50 years. Most significantly, the Galactic Council was reformed with representatives from 62 species, including those previously classified as primitives. The ceremony took place on a neutral station, Representatives from across the galaxy watched as President Hayes and the Dominion Council members signed the accord. When it was done, the balance of power that had stood for millennia was officially ended. Later, in a private moment, Trell approached Hayes. "I still do not understand you," he said quietly. "You were outmatched from the beginning. By every rational analysis, you should have accepted subjugation. Instead, you chose near extinction. Why?" Hayes considered the question. "Because freedom is not something you calculate in a cost-benefit analysis. It is not rational. It is essential. We chose to risk everything because living as slaves is not living at all. You called us primitive. Perhaps you were right. We are primitive enough to value liberty over safety, honor over survival, defiance over submission. Those primitive instincts saved us." She looked out at the gathered representatives, seeing species who had been subjects for centuries now standing as equals. "You taught us an important lesson, Ambassador. You taught us that no power is permanent, no subjugation is absolute, and the oppressed will always eventually find the will to resist. We just learned it faster than most." 6 months after the treaty, Daniel Ross stood on the bridge of a new ship, leading a patrol of the reformed Galactic Peacekeeping Force. The fleet included vessels from a dozen species, all trained in tactics developed by humans. They were responding to reports of a rogue faction attempting to enslave a newly discovered species in a distant sector. Beth Reeves commanded the Marine contingent, her reputation having spread across the galaxy. Young aliens of various species trained under her guidance, learning the human way of war. Not because humanity wanted to create conquerors, but because they wanted to ensure no species would ever be helpless again. "Remember," she told her mixed species class, "superior technology can be overcome. Numerical advantage can be negated. What matters is will. If you refuse to be broken, if you are willing to pay any price for freedom, you can defeat any enemy. That is the human lesson. That is what we offer the galaxy." On Earth, Leo Grant led research teams working with alien scientists, developing new technologies through cooperation rather than conquest. The galaxy was changing. Old barriers breaking down, new possibilities emerging. Amara Singh, now Earth's representative on the Galactic Council, worked to ensure the new order remained stable. It was not easy. The Dominion still had powerful advocates who wanted to return to the old ways. But every time they proposed reverting to hierarchical systems, humanity reminded them what resistance looked like. "We are not conquerors," Amara said during one heated council debate. "We do not seek to replace Dominion tyranny with human dominance, but we will defend freedom for ourselves and others. Any species that attempts what the Dominion did will face the same response." That is not a threat. That is a promise. The message was clear. The galaxy had a new sheriff, and that sheriff was not interested in ruling but in ensuring no one else could rule through force. Years passed. The scars of the war gradually healed. Earth rebuilt its orbital infrastructure. Colonies flourished in systems that had been forbidden to them. Human ships explored regions of space the Dominion had kept restricted. But humanity never forgot the lessons learned. Every ship carried weapons the Dominion had dismissed as primitive. Every crew trained in tactics that violated civilized warfare conventions. Every human remembered that peace was something you fought for and defended, not something granted by stronger powers. The galaxy had changed fundamentally. Species that had accepted subjugation for centuries now understood they had alternatives. Young aliens looked at humans and saw not primitives but proof that determination could overcome any obstacle. The Dominion and other major powers learned that conquest carried consequences they might not survive. On the anniversary of the Battle of Earth, Ross stood in the memorial garden dedicated to those who had died in the war. 4 million names were inscribed on walls that stretched for miles. Beth Reeves stood beside him, her own family's names among them. "Was it worth it?" she asked quietly. Ross thought about the question. The cost had been terrible, the suffering immense, but across the galaxy, billions of beings now lived free who would have remained slaves forever without humanity's intervention. "Yes," he said finally, "because we proved something the Dominion thought impossible. We proved that the oppressed can defeat the oppressor, that primitive weapons in determined hands can overcome advanced technology, that no tyranny is permanent if people are willing to fight." He looked up at the stars, where human ships now traveled freely, where alien species learned human tactics, where the old order had been replaced by something new and uncertain, but infinitely more just. "We were primitive," Ross continued. We used crude weapons. We fought without honor by their standards. We accepted losses that should have broken us. And we won, not because we were stronger, but because we refused to lose. That is the legacy we leave. Not empire, not dominance, but the knowledge that freedom is always possible if you are willing to pay the price. Beth nodded, understanding. They stood together in silence, remembering the dead, honoring their sacrifice and knowing that sacrifice had changed the galaxy forever. Humanity had been dismissed as primitive. Then the war came home. And when the dust settled, the primitives had taught the civilized galaxy its most important lesson. Never underestimate those who have nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. The age of easy conquest was over. The era of galactic tyranny had ended. And Earth, the primitive world that refused to bow, stood at the center of a new order built on the ashes of the old. The war was over, but humanity's watch had just begun.